2, 3.
Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall. I got the grit of the underdog. I'm stronger than you think, I can do this on my own. There's a difference between loneliness and doing this alone.
Hello! Welcome to the Capital Groove Collective presents DC Music Rock Podcast. This is a podcast that is to elevate the music of the DMV to the world stage, one conversation at a time. Here, we will highlight the wildly talented DMV musicians that we believe are paving the way in the Washington metropolitan area through diversity of genre, gender, identity, and community. And today we have the fabulous Ari Voxx. I hope I said that right.
Almost. It's Ari Voxx.
Ari Voxx. With two X.
Yes, one is not fun enough. 3 X's is too naughty. So 2 is good.
2 is good. I love that. Well, your original name is Ariana Harbin, and you are a DC native who's been performing and writing music for years. You're mostly known for your jazz and neo soul vocals from the band Sweet Something, but you branched out your first solo project, Ari Voxx. You released an EP and 6 singles this year, including the most popular release, Burden, a retro indie sack girl pop bop. So a new word I learned today. Your sound is indie, melancholic, and chill. Expect to feel retro vibes, catchy melodies, smooth, buttery vocals, definitely buttery, and emotional lyricism. And you're just getting started. So welcome, Ari.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, so, tell us how you got started in music. Where it all got started.
Well, I've been writing songs since I was just a wee one, just a child. I didn't. So growing up, it was a little bit lonely. I didn't really have many friends growing up, and I kind of, even though I was the youngest of 3 children, my siblings were both way older than me, like 10 years older than me. So they were.
Wow.
So yeah, I was kind of alone a lot, and so I would just spend my time like twirling around in the backyard, making up songs.
Oh, I can kind of identify with that because I'm the only child. So
yeah, vibes, man. I mean, you got to spend your time somehow. So
yes,
I had to keep my mind busy, and I just loved to sing all the time. And then when I was like 8 or 9 years old, I started taking classical guitar lessons. And got exposed to a lot of things, a lot of stuff, and some good, some bad. And once I became a teenager, I kind of like branched out and started writing like some serious songs, and started performing on open mics and showcases and such. And now I've finally blossomed, and
yes,
I'm gonna take it to the next level, man.
always gotta take it to the next level.
Yeah.
What kind of songs were you writing as a teenager?
Sad songs.
Heartbreaks.
Yeah, it feels kind of tacky to say that like sad is my brand, but like honestly, it's a huge part of my identity because I've struggled with depression like my entire life. When I was very sad child. It's funny, I don't know if you watched Winnie the Pooh when you were younger, but the character Eeyore.
I do know about the character, but I didn't really watch it because I wasn't born here.
Named Eeyore, which is like a depressed donkey, basically. Aww. And he was always dragging the mood down, like oh ho hum. And my sister would call me Eeyore all the time because I would, even when I was like a child, because I would just be like, oh, what's the point? Oh. So I've always struggled with sadness. When I was a teenager, I just tried to find an outlet to express that. So it came to songwriting, and I wrote about my feelings and growing up and coming to terms with how I view the world, how the world views me, how people treat me, relationships, all that. And I was really into, I was influenced by my brother kind of a lot. Since he was a little bit older than me, he was into like 90s rock and grunge and stuff, like Nirvana and like Chili Peppers and like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, those 90s rock guys. So I would kind of like like sad grunge rock or like a little bit of like pop punk in there too, like Rise Against uh stuff. So yeah, just like sad indie rock, I guess, mostly. I was writing when I was a teenager, just to express myself.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have a little bit of sadness in me too, you know. I get that. Like a lot of the Chinese music I used to listen to as a child were like adult love songs and they were always sad. So I can identify with that. Nothing wrong with that. So what would you say would be your music persona?
What do you mean by that?
So, in terms of music style, in terms of maybe even just style in general, like fashion style, or like what, like who do you try to portray as a musician to the audience?
Sure. I mean, it's kind of a hard question to answer because I'm still, I mean, I'm at the point, I hope I never change. I'm at the point in my life with my music that I'm trying to just portray my most authentic self at all times. And, I'm a very multifaceted person, as we all are. There's many sides to me, and I've come to the point in my life where I've tried all the time to just portray like the balance. So it's like, yes, I can be sad a lot, sad most times, especially this year. It's been a
Oh my god.
horrible year, but
Yep.
things have come from it. But yeah, and I can also be bubbly and goofy and joking, but I just try to be authentically me all the time. And like, but persona wise, what the vibe of the songs that I mainly write tend to be kind of like the descriptive words I had put in my bio, like melancholic, existential, dreamy, just I kind of use music as a sort of escapism.
Mhm.
So, but I still want to see myself reflected in it. So it's kind of like an eternal struggle of like maintaining the balance of trying to grasp on to something that means something like music that like gives me a purpose, and then also portraying that deep sorrow that I've always felt and just letting it all fuse together and come out in the most authentic way. So
I love that answer.
thanks.
I mean, it's like you want to have a little piece of you, in each song, but you also want the song to have its own form. So it's like that balance of the two. That's beautiful.
Thank
You
you.
know, I mean, authenticity is rare these days. I feel like in industry, and we need more of that.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yes, I'm the same way. I don't know how to be anybody but myself. So.
Yeah, and trust me, I've tried to be someone else. But I have tried, but it
We've
just
all tried, yeah.
no, yeah.
That's right. So who do you think your music style resembles? There's like it could be mainstream artists, it could be indie, it could be anybody.
So that's also a kind of difficult question to answer because I find it hard a lot of the times to just be. Oh, hold on one sec.
It's okay.
My light just decided to give out. Hold on.
So who do you think your music style resembles?
So that is a difficult question to answer.
It's okay.
Because I find it difficult often to be kind of objective about the way I sound, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times I think I sound completely different than to what other people perceive me to sound like.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that's just like science. If you like the way you hear your own voice in your head is different than how other people hear it. So it's like
I
you
feel that. Yeah.
even on recordings, you don't ever really know what you really sound like. So I find that frustrating, interesting. But if people were to ask me what my general like vibe was, I can only really.
I mean, I feel that same way when people ask me that question, and I'm sorry that I'm doing this to you.
No, it's expected. Well, what? Well, let's go into more specifics then. Do you mean like my voice, my
Your
vocal
voice.
specifically. I mean, and that's the thing too. People sometimes, like a lot of times, if I like play a gig and like people will come up and be like, "Oh, like you're so great. I love this. You sound just like this person." And it's like they aren't really don't really know about music, so they're like just like, "Oh, you're singing jazz, so you sound like Ella Fitzgerald." And it's
Yeah,
like
right. Sure, thanks.
one person I actually think I might actually sound like would be Corinne Bailey Ray. The song Girl, put your records on, your favorite song. Da, 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 let your head down. Like
Yeah.
like she's kind of like poppy but a little bit jazzy, and yeah.
Yeah, because I think your sound is very because I have listened to your music. I think your voice is a mixture of things. Honestly, even for me, it's hard to pinpoint like who does she sound like. You have a little bit of many different singers, I feel like, but then you're also just you. So it's like, well, what about your style? What about like your, your vibe? Is that also hard to answer?
I mean, that is a little bit hard to answer. My vibe, I mean, I'm influenced by a lot of things. I think like general sound, that's the thing. I don't, cause like I said before, I don't really want to be like tied down to a specific like genre or vibe, because I want every song I make to be just different depending on whatever mood I'm in.
Yeah.
But I mean, in like the EPK I made, I'm like trying, like sometimes I feel vibes of like Esperanza Spalding and like the kind of like dreamy romantic like
Nice.
jazzy stuff, but then a lot of like the actual structural content of my writing is very kind of like that 90s grunge based. Like Chris Cornell, the vocalist of Soundgarden, he's actually, and yeah, growing up, the vocalists that I were influenced by were all male vocalists.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's funny because when I hear my voice, I kind of hear a male voice. Like it's like I
There's masculine qualities to it.
yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I've always really embraced my masculine side. Like I love being a woman. Don't get me wrong.
Same.
Yeah, I embrace my masculine side and I enjoy that. I have a kind of a lower voice, and that makes sense for what I was influenced by. Like growing up in my house, we listened to a lot of Motown. So I feel like my falsetto just straight up sounds like the Temptations or like Prince or Earth, Wind and Fire.
Right.
Yeah, and then like there's some Ray Charles in there with the kind of like falsetto flips that I do. So yeah, just a bunch of male soul artists and
I love it.
mixed with a bunch of whatever, man. I don't know.
Oh, well, so do you think fashion, because I check out your Instagram, I stalked you, and do you think fashion is an important part of your artistic presence? And I'm asking that for me, because I'm a fashionista as well. So I'm just really curious.
I looked at your Instagram. You're so glamorous. I'm like, God damn. I need to get myself a sugar daddy so he can buy me some sparkly dresses.
Honey, you just need a stylist. You do not need a sugar daddy for that.
For my stylist.
True.
But yeah, I feel like as an artistic person that just naturally kind of translates. I'm drawn to like cool whatever I think looks cool, which kind of ties into what I think sounds cool, which is all part of my identity as an artist in general.
Yeah, it feels like very free spirited. I don't know if you know the brand like Free People Anthropology. It's giving me like those vibes where it's just like very.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's just like a little bit DIY, but then it's like whimsical, bohemian a little bit. It's just very free spirited, which I think goes really well with your music too. It's not just those things; it's very complex, just like you and your music and everything.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I feel that. I mean, I do love dressing like pretty feminine. Like I love dresses. Honestly, dresses are way more comfortable than pants. Like
yes, I feel that.
to be free, girl. But
Yeah.
I love like pinks and purples and sparkly things and furry things.
You're wearing a little sparkly top.
I was just filming a video for that's why I'm all glammed out. And I've been
Yes. You didn't do it just for me.
well, so for you, I'm gonna do like a double thing so I don't have to do it twice.
That's smart because COVID, you do makeup and you just like run that thing.
Yeah. Going out, so gonna do it all in one.
That's right.
But I love fashion. I'm not really like a fashionista. I don't like read Vogue or anything. That's more of like my older sister's like really into like actual fashion, and she knows all the designers and all that. And it's like that. I guess no, I love going to thrift stores, finding stuff.
Same. I love thrift stores as
well. You got to get that bargain.
Yes. Well, sometimes you can find some designers in the thrift stores too.
Exactly, especially if you go to the Goodwills around here where I live, like Arlington, where like rich people just like give away their designer things.
The samples.
Yeah, it's like
or the gifts. No.
Thank you very much. I will pay $12 for that.
That's right. Well, let's get back to music a little bit. So, how did you get to where you are in your music career? I guess now being the solo career.
Yeah, so I've had a little bit of the music journey has gone alongside with my mental health journey. I feel like I always link those two together because, I mean, music is the direct, not just the coping mechanism, but I don't know, if depression is the dark side of me that will always be there, which it kind of will. Sometimes brains are just wired in a way that they're just more prone to these things. So if depression is like the dark side of things, then the light side is music and art. So those things have been intertwined for me my entire life. So after I graduated high school, so I was really into music in high school, and I graduated and I had all this pressure from my parents, like, oh, music isn't a real career, like you need to go to college and get a real job and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
I gave up music for a few years and I was just like ready to just like, nope, I'm not doing music anymore. I'm gonna like, I was going to school for business and I was gonna, I don't know, bro, get into hospitality, like right
get a real job. No.
Yeah, like right now, so I do work part-time at a hotel. Lately I've been doing overnights, but
which hotel?
Hilton.
Okay. So in DC. Like what area in DC?
Arlington.
Arlington. Okay.
But yeah, that was gonna be my thing, like hospitality, work for Hilton, like work my way up through the company because I've been working for them for like the last 5 years or so, at least part-time or whatnot. And I had a close friend kind of pull me out of that music void. And because like basically it was like I was living in Maryland with a couple of roommates, and like my friend's boyfriend was a musician, and he heard me singing in the shower, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so after I came out of the shower, I was fully clothed. But he was like, I heard you singing and it was great. Like, we need to do something. Like, come and like jam with us and let's like create something.
Okay.
So, and then that was when I was like 19, I guess, or 20. I'm 25 now. So yeah, that kind of brought me out of my funk. And then I had a blues band back in Maryland. We toured for a little bit. And then I had, after that kind of fell apart, you know, you got, being in a band is like being in a relationship with like 5 other people, you know. It's just, it's hard.
A lot to deal with. Yeah.
So, you know, there's always going to be creative differences, and musicians are troubled people mostly. They were troubles. Yes. And I started my own project, Sweet Something, which is still my kind of like neo-soul project. We've kind of developed from like traditional jazz into more of a neo-soul, new jazz vibe. And, you know, I guess kind of got tired of having to rely on other people, because like I would like write the basics of a song I didn't have like the musical skill to like write like the part for every instrument. So I would just like write the basic stuff, and then I'd have to give it to someone else in my band, and they would all congregate and figure it out. But I just got tired of that because people are unreliable. And it's like I love people, but
I feel that. I'm a little bit control freak, so it's like I need to know things are going to be done on time, like, how I want it, and yeah.
yeah. So and this year especially has been the catalyst of just like not being able to go out and do shows and not really being able to meet with people as often. Like I told myself you need to take things into your own hands. So girl, I spent that stimulus money on some recording gear. Thank you, Uncle Sam.
That's right.
Yeah, so this year I really just grabbed the world by the horns. I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm just gonna do it all myself, and what comes out will come out. So
Well, great things came out, girl.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel that though. Like, the whole transformation and trying to figure out like your place in music and your place in your career. It's like, you went from being in a band to now going solo. I'm sure that journey wasn't like easy. I'm sure it took a lot of like internal struggles, like, oh, like what if this happens, what if I don't succeed, and a lot of that, like, mental dialogues I'm sure happen.
I don't know.
So
Time.
yeah, so good job on finally deciding on like doing this alone, solo. um so you write your own music, but you said you only write maybe like the vocal and the lyric parts.
Well, for my solo project, I write all the parts.
Oh wow.
Yeah, even for Sweet Something, it's like I write the chords for the song and the vocal parts. If I come up with like a cool bass line I really want done, like in my head, then I'll convey that. But with my solo project, basically I write all the parts. I mean, I have a keyboard right here. I got my bass right there and my guitar over there.
How many instruments do you play?
I dabble on just keys, guitar, and bass. Yeah, that's it, and vocals.
You have an ancient piano behind you.
I do. This is my grandmother's piano.
Oh.
Yeah, she passed away maybe like 8 years ago.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
it's severely out of tune. It's like from the 70s. It's a Kimball. It needs some love, so I don't really play on that. But
you keep it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's memories.
But yeah, I mean, I guess like I said, this year, like I played guitar when I was a kid, so like I have the basics for that. And then once you know guitar, bass isn't hard at all. I actually identify more with bass. Like I'm like a pretty dope bass player.
Yes.
Like I'm like such a single note girl. And then keys is just essential. Like I don't know. I feel like if you're a vocal like songwriter, you need to just know like how to play just some basic chords on keys, because like that's the easiest way for me to write songs, really.
Yeah, I mean, I started out with piano too, so I can identify with that. Like having that bass, like bass as the music basis, is very important.
Yeah.
Although I have not written song on it, so I shall try that. And so what is your songwriting process? You talked a lot about like mental health being a huge factor. So I guess it's probably based a lot on like issues and emotions, and like what is the process for you?
So every song is basically a different writing process for me.
Oh wow.
Sometimes, well, okay, a lot of the times it'll be an idea that comes to mind. Like I'm like with Burden. Okay, so my most popular song on Spotify right now is Burden.
I love it.
Thanks. And so that's basically lyrically about so the pandemic happened. And I was basically like living with my boyfriend the whole time, and like all my gigs were canceled. I wasn't really able to like contribute a lot financially, and he was still working from home. He has a really great job. and I just felt like a burden. Like I felt like a sack of dung, man. I'm just sitting around. I got nothing to do. I'm depressed.
Oh.
I can't go out, and so I'm like, I guess felt like a burden. So I guess turned that into music. So a lot of the times it's like a feeling that I have in the moment. I'm just like, I normally latch on to like one word or one phrase and then build off of that idea. But sometimes I'm just like messing around on the piano on like some cool chords I like. And I'm like, all right, I want those chords for the chorus. And I'm just going to play
Feel
it
something.
again until lyrics come. Yeah.
Mm.
Or sometimes I just like I want to do something. Like I hear something cool that another band does. It's like I want to write a song with like some cool rhythmic changes similar to this. And I'll just like, all right, I'm going to sit down and write it. And it just happens. So it's just different every time. But
yeah. I mean, I could identify with that because every song, I guess, is a little different. So the things that like inspire it, the different elements of it, maybe different instruments, different vibe and such probably require different things. So that makes sense. So what are your current projects?
Current projects. I have, well, because this is the first year of my solo project, which it's honestly been a great year. I mean, this has been a great year to release music because everyone's stuck at home.
Yeah.
Like, what else are they gonna do but listen to your stuff?
That's right.
I have my focus for next year is to kind of solidify my presence and my like persona, as you would say, or like brand. I hate to say brand, like, oh, my brand, but
I'm a business.
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
part of it is that so yeah, I want to really focus on putting out like professional looking stuff, and I do have another EP in the works, which is I'm working with some great people like across the globe for like production and stuff on this next EP, which is very important to me. It's very like introspective, self-reflective, personal. 4 songs about basically some of the struggles that I've gone through, and kind of like the concepts of coming to terms with your specific reality, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So I've
being
had
okay like with the circumstances or being okay with what you've been through and
and just finding ways to make them to cope with them and to grow from them.
yeah, and not let them define you.
Yeah. But I mean, even though like they are like something like depression, I mean, that doesn't define me, even though it seems it kind of does though. It's like, but that's not really a bad thing for me.
Right.
It's like survivors of trauma, which I am. It's not something that has to hinder you in anything in life. It's something that you have gone through, and
right.
I'm ashamed to have to tell the world because it's part of my journey. So
right. And I think a lot of people can identify with a lot of that. You're not alone, in a lot of the things you've gone through because we're all human at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So a lot of the struggles are common. And so when you kind of express your struggles and the things you've went through, a lot of people probably are identifying with it and you're seeing their feelings out in a way.
Yeah, and that's really what I want to do with music. It's a good point you brought up because one of the struggles that I've gone through in my life is not really being able to communicate very well with people and not being able to express my emotions due to the trauma I've been through. And music is just one way that I can actually like talk to people. And when people identify with my music, I feel like I'm actually having a real conversation as opposed to just like kind of pretend, which yeah, so I like that's the music is the only way I can effectively communicate things. So,
No,
and
that makes sense.
yeah.
And even with like, I consider myself okay with communicating with people. Music is another way to communicate with people. I feel like, whether saying a lot of words or not saying too much, sometimes just the melodies and the instruments and everything that comes with music sometimes can communicate better.
Exactly. It's just a whole nother language, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so it's beautiful. So you are in the DMV area. What makes it so special? Like, what do you think makes the DMV music scene or just DMV so special?
Well, all the black people, which is true. No, I mean, before gentrification, I mean, DC was chocolate city. There's still a lot of brown people here, but
Right.
the the thing that I love most about like DC specifically was the jazz scene and how this is
Mm,
you won't like like New York has some good jazz, but it's like nowhere else in the US really is there like a really strong jazz presence.
wow.
And it's like my favorite thing is just to not during the pandemic because like a lot of especially jazz places have closed because like
That's so
they
sad.
yeah, I mean they didn't make enough money to begin with.
Right.
Because uh but yeah, so like places like Twins Jazz, a historic place, closed. Even Bohemian Caverns closed. Like
Like permanently or temporarily?
yeah, permanently.
Oh my
And like
god.
18th Street Lounge was like kind of a
I
club. They had jazz every weekend on the top floor. They're
yeah.
closed. Yeah, so many places. And the only jazz places I think still open. Blues Alley is never gonna close because they got like rich benefactors and stuff that they'll keep them alive. But
Okay.
and like but yeah, no, my favorite thing was to just go out. I love going out by myself because it's like I don't know. I can just people will feel free to just talk to me. I can just talk to anyone I want. It's like going to the bar of a jazz club, getting a glass of wine, and
Yes.
some fantastic music. It's not like just like three or four guys that are just freaking amazing at music, and they just have no boundaries, and they'll just go up there and bare their soul and just go off, and they don't care what people think or even like notice what people are looking at them,
Right.
seeing people like in the zone in their own like musical world. And that's something I really miss honestly from the start of the pandemic, just going out and experiencing other people's experiences.
Yeah. I mean, like when people talk about DMV or DC, they don't think of music. They don't think of jazz. They think more like the government and the policies
If you
and
talk to basic people, yeah, sure. Yeah, yuppies on the hill, which yes, there are plenty of yuppies who work on the hill.
right, right. But I mean, I moved here like 3 years ago and I've met so many creatives here, like whether it's fashion or music or just art in general or just people that are just creating, taking photos, making films. Like there's so many creatives here and it's just like I feel like it's a hidden gem still, It doesn't get recognized as much as it
Yeah,
should.
I feel like it's interesting because DC is a really small city,
It is.
especially because of
But we're the capital.
yeah, nobody cares.
I know. Nobody does.
I feel like DC is kind of like a miniature New York City.
Yeah.
New York is big. You're gonna find because it's so big and there's so many people. You're gonna find good art and you're gonna find good music. Most
Right.
Glenn, but um, DC, I feel like you get that kind of like small neighborhood, like small town vibe
Mhm.
mixed with cool art, hip people. It's like a
Yeah.
weird mix that just works. And I love DC. So
Same. I mean, I feel like you can be anyone here. I feel like you don't have to pretend to be someone you're not here, which I feel like because I have lived in LA and I have lived in New York. or worked in New York. And I just felt like I had to be a certain type of person, or else you just don't blend in. But here, I'm like, I have a corporate job, but I'm also a musician and fashion stylist. They're like, what? Cool. Like, I feel like if people are just not as judgmental here, like anything is possible here. So that's why I love it.
Yeah, I feel that. And yeah, that is true. And I feel like because DC is like one of the most like liberal cities in the country too. It's like I can drive down the streets of DC, I see rainbow flags everywhere I go. I'm like,
Yep,
yes.
we are.
So welcoming and accepting. And
Yeah, progressive.
yeah, and it feels
So
nice to be around, especially so many young people that feel very strongly about, activism and changing the world, which is refreshing.
that's a great lead in to the next question I have for you. Are there any social causes you feel passionately about?
Well, yeah, as a Black woman, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely heavy on the Black Lives Matter-ish. I actually, after I saw the very tragic video of George Floyd being murdered by the police, back in when was that?
I
March?
don't even, yeah,
Um,
this year.
yeah, I wrote it was just a 1-minute song that was more of like
I
a
saw that.
thank you.
But can you tell everyone the title and where they can listen to it?
Yes, it's called "The Caged Bird Still Sings." And it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on all streaming services, and it is a 1-minute song/poem that I wrote inspired by the brutal murder of George Floyd, and is a callback to Maya Angelou's mantra/novel, "The Caged Bird Sings." Why does the caged bird sing?
Mm-hmm.
And just about the Black struggle in America and how that moment really impacted me and affected me. And before this year, I'd never really been one to like. I've always been liberal, and I've always felt like, oh yeah, Black people have it hard right now, and we got to change things. But I've never been like, trying to argue with people or posting things online. I don't like try not to draw attention to myself because I don't like to argue, and I don't like to.
Tension or
I don't like tension, and like especially with people whose minds were probably never going to change.
mm-hmm.
But it's become really important to me after I saw that. I saw George Floyd, I saw my brother, I saw my dad, I saw my cousins in that.
Mm-hmm.
And it it really hurt, just like every day hurts. It's like um yeah, so being Black is more than a cause to me. I mean, it's my identity, it's my reason for living and my reason for surviving and scrounging. Like I don't have it as bad as some people, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like I still get called, I still get followed around in stores. I still people call me like whenever I try to speak up about things that I care about, people are saying, "Oh, you're just angry. Like, why are you being such a bitch?" Like, so can I swear? Sorry.
I'm not sure, but hey, you're expressing yourself.
Well, it's like, um, yeah, like I'm the angry Black woman and like things like that. There's just so many things I want to talk about and discuss with people and change people's minds. And so that is a really important part of me. And actually, one of the songs that is on my next EP that I'm working on right now is about actually, what's the word for it? Not only internalized racism and colorism, but something I've dealt with when I was a child and still now, this not being Black enough. How like other Black girls didn't want to be my friend because I talk white and I act white. and just that kind of exclusion that I just didn't understand when I was a child. I'm just like, what? Like, I guess this is how I talk. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean I can't be friends with you?
Right.
So that's still just something, it's really sad, but the racism within my Black community is still super prevalent. Like, if you don't speak in AAVE, sometimes then you're shunned. And yeah, and I'm just seen as like not a real Black person. So
Wow,
gosh.
it's powerful.
So yeah, it's one of the songs I'm really proud of being able to put out. In the springtime, my EP is going to be out. It's called Brown Eyes, the song, and yeah, excited about that. But
I'm excited too. Like, and also just sharing yourself with people again, you know, like, but these are really deep, like intimate parts of yourself that you're sharing with people. So that's also very brave.
Thank you.
That you're doing that. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that. But yeah, I totally understand, like, when you feel like you don't belong in one group, and then you also don't belong with your own people in some ways. I mean, being an immigrant myself, like, I was born in China, but I immigrated to America when I was very young, so I struggle with the identity of, like, am I American or Chinese, or can I be both? But I can't, because of the people. They don't think so. So it's like, it's really complex things. And
yeah, it's definitely an internal struggle that you never escape from. It's always going to be something about you.
I mean, we say, like, you and I will always say, like, we're an individual and we're complex beings and we're just us, but it's like we still also want to belong.
Yeah, and it's like,
So
no matter how many times people say, like, oh, it doesn't matter what other people think, it's like, well, yeah, well, if you want to be a successful musician, yes, it does matter. If you want to
Right.
have a successful career, yes, it does matter. And it's like, it's just a balance. You need to find the balance of being yourself and adapting into groups in your community. So
exactly.
it's never black and white or one-sided.
And it's always hard work. So
Mhm.
well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you have anything to share with the audience? You want to share your social website? I know the website's in the making.
Sure. I will say I'm most active on Instagram, so y'all can find me at Ari.Voxx, which is ARI.VOXX on Instagram. And I release lots of music, basically a song every month on Spotify and every other streaming service. You can listen to my latest song, Mean Old Winter, on Spotify right now. Lo-fi, new jazz, chill vibe.
I love it. I can play that all day long.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you for joining us again, Ari. And again, I'm your host, Ting Lin, from the Capital Groove Collectives presents DC Music Rocks. Thank you for joining us today.
Take my heart and please don't break it. Never thought that we could make it work, but it always hurts. Every time you're near, I cannot help but to reveal the way you are. But you're so, so far. In my little dreams, we live a life you won't believe, but that's not you. And it won't come true, no matter how good. Live a life that must stay real without fantasy. But you're all I see. I feel hypnotized. Why do I get so infatuated with people like you? It makes it complicated to do the simplest things. And what the hell is wrong with me? It's like I got a heart disease. 'Cause every time I fall with these for you or anyone else, say it let you wait, and I'm just too late. I feel hypnotized. Why do I get so infatuated? People like you, it makes it complicated to do the simplest things. And what the hell is bothering me? It's like I got a heart disease. 'Cause every time I fall with these to you or anyone else, anyone else.
Cause I'ma dig deep, I'ma stand tall.